Okay. Hi, my name is Ade Richardson, and welcome to the Facebook Guided Meditations and More page. We offer a 8 a.m. daily meditation, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We've also been doing interviews and such as today. And, today we're interviewing Professor Hong Jiang, and she's going to talk a little bit about the spiritual practice Falun Gong. Welcome, Hong, Professor Jiang.
Hello, Ade. Great to be with you on your show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lead people with the first two sets of exercises of Falun Gong with the music. And I'm doing a very short version. Probably it will take us about 4 minutes
Okay,
maybe, and then
great.
we'll talk. So stand with your 2 feet shoulder width apart and relax your body. And with your hands conjoined, woman right hand on top and the man left hand on top. So the first set of exercise is a stretching exercise. Basically open up all the energy channels in your body. So we do a relaxed stretching movements. So first go up, turn your hand, and go up and stretch your body, stretch. And 2 hands face your body, come down and come up. This is a position called flush sit. We'll come back to this all the time. And now right hand on top for woman, and man will do a mirror image of me. And the top hand extends out. And this is called hand pointing heaven and earth. Stretch, relax, hand press in front of you. The other hand on top extends and stretch your whole body and relax and press hands in front of you. Now 2 hands go to the 2 sides and stretch, relax. Now press hands in front of you and 2 hands go down forward. Stretch, relax, press hands in front of you. Now 2 hands on the 2 sides. All of these have names. This is called Tathagata, putting hands on lotus flower. Press, stretch, and release. Now 2 hands go to the back. 30 degrees to your body. Stretch, relax, press hands in front of you. Go forward, stretch. When you stretch the whole body, stretch and relax. And press hands in front of you. Now 2 hands overlap but not touching in front of your abdomen. Woman right hand inside, man left hand inside. We're going to stay here for a few seconds. And conjoin hands. So that's the first set of exercise. And usually we do it 3 times, but I'm just going to do it once. The second set of exercise, I'm going to lead you through the movements. So it's holding position. So first holding, just basically go up with your index finger right at the level of your eyebrow. And very easy to do. It's about holistically adjusting your body, of course. Be silent, quiet your mind. Usually during meditation, we'll hold for 7 minutes. But today I'm just going to hold for another 10 seconds. And two hands come down to hold in front of your abdomen. And two arms around. Usually we close our eyes doing this exercise, or doing all these exercises actually. Now two hands come up to hold on top of your head. And the body is relaxed. And the next and last holding position is to hold with your two hands facing the ears, palm face the ears. And try to relax your whole body, including the shoulders. The music we're using is actually the second set of exercise music. It gives instruction about the next move in terms of the holding. And before you end, come to the position we had before. Overlap your hands in front of your abdomen. Your hands, center of your hands are facing right below the belly button, maybe an inch and a half below. And that's the Dantian chakra or point that is the primal center of life. So that holding has meaning. And actually all of these movements have meanings. You can join your hands, and that's the first and second set of exercise.
Oh, that was great. Thank you very much. I didn't stand up for this one, so I didn't get the full experience of it, because it's kind of a little bit difficult to get in and out this seat that I'm sitting in. I have a bunch of equipment around me, but I hope our viewers were able to experience the whole thing. I like the relaxing and the movement at the same time. And I wonder how does, like, when one has, thoughts, let's say negative thoughts are coming up, or different difficult emotions and stress, how does one incorporate that into the practice? How is that practice used to help deal with those things, or are those things kind of pushed aside? So are they, do we let those emotions in and experience the fullness of them while doing the practice, or do we just, is it more of a focus on the practice itself?
That's a very good question. So with Falun Gong exercise, let me ask your question directly and then talk about the larger picture of Falun Gong. That'll give you a kind of full answer. So in terms of...
I'm sorry, before we even get into that, I forgot. I just want to read a quick bio, your bio. I just want to put that in here before I forget. Okay, just so that our viewer knows is a little bit more familiar with you. So Professor Hong Jiang is an associate professor of geography from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, is a Chinese expert, and her academic work involves environmental and cultural geography of China. She's been meditating since 2004, following the practice of Falun Gong, which is also known as Falun Dafa. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which has become the bedrock for her life. Falun Gong is a meditative spiritual practice based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. For more information on the practice, you can visit falundafa.org. That's FALUNDAFA.org. And I'll put the link on the description of this video as well. So sorry to interrupt. Let's continue where we left off.
No problem at all. You had a very good question in terms of how to deal with stress and chatters in your mind. The Falun Gong exercise, what I showed you are the movement exercise. So what you do is basically you keep a quiet and empty mind and try not to think about anything. The music is helpful just because it can help focus one's mind if one's mind is going everywhere. And that's just how we are on my mind. Our minds are thinking about this and that and all the stress we're dealing with right now with the pandemic. So the Falun Gong exercise are helpful in that way of helping people to quiet their mind, just empty out all those feelings and chatters and emotions. And what you are left with is basically peacefulness. That is a good place to start with, dealing with any stress. And the Falun Gong itself is a mind and body practice. There are two parts to it. The exercise that I showed were among the 5 sets of exercises. 4 are standing and 1 is a sitting meditation. And all of the exercises are basically you pay attention to what you do. If you move, pay attention to the move, pay attention to the body. When you stretch to the location, to the point of feeling just right. And because it's slow, and then you're not going to overdo it. So that itself to help to relax both the body and the mind. I think more important is really the teachings. That's why I'm calling this a truly a mind and body practice. So how to cultivate our mind. And the Falun Gong practice follows the principles of being truthful, being compassionate, and tolerant. So to be a practitioner of Falun Gong, more importantly, one tries to follow those principles and try to look within. That's a major thing, is look within. When there's any conflicts and discomfort coming up, things you don't like, things you like, anything that comes up in life is the opportunity to really think about oneself, to look within to see what is it that I'm not letting go of, what is my attachments.
Yeah.
And so that's from that space, if one really cultivate oneself and to relieve oneself of those attachments, that alone helps the mind in terms of releasing stress and dealing with the difficult situations or not difficult situations.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about attachments, just so that our viewer have a better idea. I have my own ideas, but can you give an example? Let's say that I'm angry at someone. You know, I had an argument at home, and I'm feeling some bitterness. I'm feeling some resentment, and I'm just holding on to that resentment and that anger. And I'm aware that it's there, but I don't really know how to let go of it. You know, I could pretend and say, oh, you know, I'm fine, but inside, and that's why I'm very interested in this practice, because it does work with the body. You know, so inside I'm feeling the physical, you know, the emotion in the body. You know, so it's not only the mental part but the physical part. So in a situation like that, how can I get, you know, some distance between that? How can I let that go?
Again, very important question, and that's a situation we deal with all the time. So how to let go of anger, how to let go of a resentment, and how to forgive, right? I guess if you never condemn, you don't need to forgive. So if we can get to the point of not even condemning. So I think of the Falun Gong practice really help. Let me speak from my personal experience. Each practitioner of Falun Gong would have their own understanding of the principles.
Yeah.
So Falun Gong really gives a practitioner a very large perspective about life. So large that we're thinking about the cosmos, we're thinking about the whole of the universe. You think about things beyond your immediate experience. Let's say if I'm angry with somebody, I'm angry with that person at this moment.
Yeah.
Can I get out of that moment? So to get out of that moment, can I expand my perspective to not just this person in all of his life and my interaction with him or her, but think about even larger perspectives of why I'm here on this planet. I'm here to improve myself, to cultivate myself, to raise awareness. So with Falun Gong, what's beautiful about Falun Gong is this, that I find that anything you experience, good things, bad things, sad things, angry, things that make you angry, all of those are your teaching, your opportunity to improve. So if I switch to say, this is my opportunity to improve, then what is it that I need to improve? And do I need to look at this person differently? Do I not have compassion? So oftentimes when we have anger, we have hurt. And what is that hurt? Usually when we talk about hurt, it's because our personal feelings and egos are touched in a way that we feel hurt. So can I let go of that ego and really think about the other person and see it from the other person's perspective? So enlarging your perspective to as far as you can. I mean, if I enlarge it to the world, you know, the Falun Gong teachings would say, think about what a Buddha would do. And think about what a God would do. And I'm thinking, I'm laughing at myself if I think about what a Buddha would do. Hey, this is such a small thing, and we all are hurting, and we all could be hurt. So can I let this go and really see it from the other person's perspective? So that's why I'm saying with Falun Gong, the movement helps in terms of, our mind and body are all connected. But more importantly, if I cultivate my mind and really see things from a very different perspective, then I can really create peace every step of the way. Of course, seeing any obstacles as my opportunity to teach, to let go of my attachment. So what is attachment? I think the biggest one is really the self. It's the ego self. Yeah. To say that I feel hurt, I feel this, I feel that. Can I get rid of that I? To say, we, or even bigger, all of us.
So it sounds like more than, another way to say it is, rather than even getting rid of the I, is enlarging the I. So the I isn't just this little personality and my wants and desires and things like that, but the I includes other people, nature, and the cosmos. There's so much that's within this I.
Exactly. So, and that's the hardest thing to do, because we all have habits. We all have this habitual ways to react. So with Falun Gong, when I started to get into Falun Gong in 2004, the first thing, I learned different, I read and did a little bit of different practices before that. And it was really Falun Gong that really spoke to me in terms of seeing such a broad horizon. So how can I get out of my eye, right? And so I started to pay attention to my intention, my thought. Like if things would happen, I would react. So then I think again to say, well, can I think differently? Can I react differently? So if I get to the point that it would take less time for me to react, not to respond, not to react, to respond with a bigger heart, to seeing the larger horizon, not just from a habitual feeling of myself, a very closed corner. So if I learn to do that over time, I can make it kind of more of a habit, building a different habit.
Yeah, and that's a key word, over time. So we probably shouldn't have the expectation that this is an overnight thing, because we do have our human reactions, and as you said, the habits that we've developed over a lifetime may take some time to develop new ones. And for me, for example, I still get triggered at times. I may get into an argument with someone, or someone says something, and the rational mind will say, okay, well, maybe they're having a bad day. And I'm really not what they say I am. I understand that on the rational level, but inside I'm feeling this, feeling threatened. I'm feeling attacked. And so on that physical level, so I'm feeling, well, what do I do? I go into kind of fight, flight, or freeze. And that could be related to trauma and things like that might get activated. And we could go into that a little bit if you feel comfortable, but that's just my thoughts with that.
Yeah, so I can't speak from personal experience in terms of trauma, but in a way that as long as we're in life, we've all been hurt, all been traumatized in some ways. So that's basically the human condition, and we deal with it, we experience it with less or more intensity. So to me, the key, what Falun Gong teachings help me is really to see the meaning, both the meaning of life and the meaning of the larger cosmos, to know that there is this large perspective that we can all aspire to. And when you kind of get there, even just an inch at a time, you feel this liberated kind of feeling. You really feel free. You're not controlled by these past patterns and emotions. So that, I think, it comes as in the process of the practice. What's great about Falun Gong is that it gives one both a base in the mind and the body. If our bodies are not feeling good, then we also react in certain ways. So, like after, for me, if I do an hour, 2 hours of exercise, it just really gave me a sense of a refreshed kind of existence in the world. Yeah. And sometimes certain insights would come in the meditation. It's not something that I would seek for it, because the Falun Gong meditation is about emptiness. You just sit in without trying not to think about it. But you know, sometimes it's not necessarily trauma, but things happen in your life. Let's say I do a 2-hour meditation. The first hour, my mind keeps thinking about, oh, this thing and that thing, I need to do this and do that. And what would happen if I do this? So those small worries and concerns.
Yeah.
So whenever my mind chatters, I know it's because of my attachment. If the mind is not clear, not quiet, it's because of my attachment. So I try to say, well, let it go, let it go. And the next hour, I would have a wonderful meditation without a thought. Oh, I can't think of anything that I've ever thought. And I come out of it and thinking, what was it that I was worrying about?
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of all gone. But it's awareness that one would build over time. And the idea of keep looking within. The most difficult time to look within is to see clearly the other person is in the wrong. The other person is clearly wrong. But the Falun Gong teaching is telling me and all practitioners of Falun Gong, look within. It's not like your fault. It's like, look within. I mean, if we say, oh, it's my fault, it's putting it in the negative.
Yeah.
Can you spin it positively to say, what is it that I need to let go of? That what is my attachments? Yeah, yes, the other person's wrong, but the other person almost always, is a reflection, a mirror image of me. That
Yeah.
if I see this other person is aggressive and not respectful, it's probably because at some point I was just acting like that. Can I see that person in me? And that's seeing the connection, right? And then see that it's me that's not letting go of that particular attachment, that I'm angry about this other person. Therefore, there's a perfect opportunity for me to see myself and improve myself. So when I can switch perspectives like that, life is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with life. Even the most horrific things that are happening are all ways to teach us how to build our awareness and letting go of our attachments and be good to people around us.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. And I think the key word that stuck out for me is responsible. So responding to whatever is arising within myself. So if I get into an argument with the person and they're not with me the rest of the day, but I'm still having this negative feeling about them, and I may mistake that to think that that's what they are. So it kind of clouds the vision. But seeing that that is happening here, I'm experiencing here, and that's where it sounds like you're saying that wider perspective. You know, all of these experiences are happening within this self. It sounds like, and to put attention here is my responsibility. Is that?
That's right. And you know, we all think from the self. That's all we can think, just because that's how we are taught in society, and that's our experiences are telling us. But the amazing thing about the Falun Gong practice is a place that I cannot get to. Maybe certain moments I can get to is you live not for yourself, but you need to live for others.
Yeah.
And it's that place, but you need to do it in a peaceful way. That becomes who you are. That's how you think and react. That's how your intentions are moving. Not to say that I should think about others because I should. It's not about should. It's about is, right? So if we become that kind of person, then the self is infinitely expanded, because there's not a self-centered kind of way. It's just, you know, your life is centered in the world. Mm-hmm. But only if one is peaceful and not with resentment can one really help the world.
Yeah. And so holding that intention to act from a place of service is important, you know, for the sake of the whole collective. What if what if I'm going to do some sort of task or whatever it is I'm doing, And there is that subtle desire that's there that, I'm doing it and I'm desiring some approval, some, self-satisfaction. Not that anything's wrong with that, but then I'm also thinking, well, I would like that to be of service. So does it have to start off as at service, at that place of service, or can that intention be changed? Can we start off with one intention and then say, well, I see that the intention is self-serving mainly, and I'm not going to give myself a hard time with that, but I want to work towards having it be of service in an authentic way and somehow.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like we are all mixture of things in our minds and in our intentions. We might think we're thinking of others, but we're really thinking ourselves. So I think it's a process. It's a process of improved or increasing awareness of what is really my intention. It could be the same very act, and one is totally because of selfish reasons. One is totally because of altruism. So it's really a lot of it is in the mind. So the Falun Gong teachings would say basically the practice starts from the mind. Set your mind right. So that's the most important. And, talking about challenges and how to deal with it. And in the midst of challenge, how can you still keep being peaceful, being compassionate? The one thing that you may know that Falun Gong practice started in China. And in China, practitioners of Falun Gong are being persecuted severely since 1999. We're talking about over 20 years of persecution. And people are put to jail. My family members are put to jail, tortured to death. And what's really amazing to me, and this is what also attracted me to Falun Gong, is the Falun Gong practitioners coming out of that torture. Policemen were torturing them. And they are talking about how can we keep compassion, have compassion for this person who's beating me up. And that's really a very moving, ultimate compassion. So they're not thinking I'm being beaten. Of course, nobody likes being beaten, and it's very, very painful. Mm-hmm. But in that, they how can they get out of themselves, thinking about the suffering not for themselves, but the policeman, because this police person is basically not seeing clearly. They are following the policies of persecution of the Communist Party, and the Communist Party just totally, wrong to persecute people because of their own power. They want to control people's mind and body, but these policemen are also, suffering. They are also the victims of this regime that's persecuting people. So really come out of oneself and think of others. That's one of the ultimate kind of expression of compassion.
Yeah, and I think we're really in need of that today. Looking at the political and social climate in the United States, where you can't even, there's lack of discussion, civil discussion. As soon as someone has an opposing perspective, they're vilified, and there's the language is attacking, and so there's a lot of division here. And I see that I wonder if that lack of compassion is due to, because they're not looking within, they're just not, all of the attention is going outward, so.
Definitely, it's about blaming. Of course, people have been wronged. People have been mistreated. But whoever's mistreating other people, they are not peaceful. If you really talk to them, they probably have a hard life.
Yeah.
So can we join together on the condition of humanities to talk to each other? I think we need more of that in the world. And the other thing is that, we're dealing with pandemic and there's a lot of fear. Mm-hmm. So how can we come out to really recognize that the humanity is in trouble? not just one group over another group, but we're all in it together. And
Yeah.
how can we bridge a dialogue from a place of compassion, not from fear? And there's definitely a lot of work that need to be done. And I really appreciate the program you're doing in terms of daily meditation that would help people in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, so we talked about the attachment and how, you know, we talked a little bit about the doing for others, having the intention when we do something to do it in service. And so how does the practice that you do, where is the goal to tap into that that piece that perhaps is inherent, you know? So let's say part of the practice is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to see where what's in the way, or what we think is in the way of that piece that's already here, that's inherent, that maybe we've gone away from. And maybe what I'm hearing is if we tap into that place, then there won't be that need, you know, that feeling that we're missing something, you know, that I need to have some sort of self-approval. I'm lacking this or I'm lacking that, which creates this fear, you know, fear of not getting what I want or fear of losing what I have. So can you speak a little bit on that?
I think the fundamental question is what you already brought up, is this whole idea of looking within. So we are already having that piece inside of us. And in Falun Gong practice, because Falun Gong is it's also called, like I said, Falun Dafa, and the Fa meaning the law. So it's following a kind of a Buddha-based practice. So therefore, I would say the Buddha nature. We all have Buddha nature in us. That's why we're born. That's why we can live, right? But we build up in the society. We pick up things that's not helpful.
Yeah.
So we think we can seek peace and seek happiness from without, from outside, from things, from other people, and from how other people would treat me. But if we can switch that to really look within, to say that I have all that is needed for me to feel at peace, to feel that I have this bigger awareness and I'm happy in the world. So looking within, we have it. So it's a process. Cultivation is a process of removing things that is not necessary, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
And after when we realize that we have certain things, these extra things are called attachments, and searching for from the outside. So after we can remove that, you know, slowly, bit by bit, and if we recognize it, that awareness is already very, very helpful. So if we build up a kind of a better and a better awareness of what do we need to be happy and to be at peace, then I think we'll get to a really good place, a lot better place.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're busy looking for gold out there when we're actually sitting on a pot of gold. And the one place we don't look, we don't think to look for some reason. Maybe that's part of the play of, you know, being human in this reality. But we don't think normally just to look within.
Definitely, it's interesting. So before I started Falun Gong in 2004, I was kind of having these kind of bigger questions about life, like why are we here? Why do we have such a difference? We have different languages and different belief systems and different religions. There must be something that is larger than all these divisions. So I was looking for that both from a personal and academic kind of perspective, because I'm looking at like doing cultural geography and I study mostly China. But, you know, I teach about all kind of questions in the world. So then I was looking in religion, like I said, in psychology, history, philosophy, all those different teachings, always have questions that really I couldn't, those different teachings couldn't answer me. And then I came to Falun Gong. It's interesting. Falun Gong practice is almost like a family practice. My mother and my aunt, my mother's sister, started the practice in 1994, 96, and I went back to visit them. And they said, "Oh, this is a great practice." I said, "Okay, wonderful, keep going."
Yeah.
And they have tremendous improvements in their health. And I said, my health is fine, my life is fine, and I'm teaching at a university, and I'm just charging forward. But I continue to have questions. So in 2006, 2004, it could be that I'm just ready to receive the teachings. I came to the Falun Gong teachings, the complete teaching called Zhuan Falun. I read that. I read the first chapter. I said, "Oh my God, this has been here. This pot of gold is at my doorstep all this time." And I just didn't realize that. Yeah. Because the teaching really is universal. It helped me to understand all these different things that I read. Any questions like, in the Bible teaching, you turn the other cheek. Why do you turn the other cheek? And after I read the Falun Gong teachings, I totally understood why do you turn the other cheek. So it's like we all have that pot of gold right there. The universe is helping and ready to help all of us. It's just when we're ready to really search. And I said, "Oh my God!" Now I found Falun Gong, and it's a practice I feel in the direction of what we've been talking about in terms of raising awareness, both mind and body, and really understand a lot of fundamental questions about life. That's where I find Falun Gong so wonderful and helpful. And there's no limit in terms of expansion of awareness. You can keep practicing. You'll keep finding things that you just needed to move to and do better. So it's definitely a great journey for me. And like you, I see you're on a wonderful journey.
Yeah, and I had a similar feeling when I started my spiritual practice. I read a book, and this happened a few times, and I think as you described, when you read that and there was that realization, wow, that was what I was looking for. So it seems like there is a knowing there, and it just something activates it, and then everything. Oh, okay. That's what I was looking for. And
definitely. So we all have that knowing in ourselves. It's just a matter of recognizing that and really pay attention to it and know that that's really the bedrock of our being. And you say happiness, you say joy, you say peacefulness, you say love. They could be just the same thing. It's about existence. And to feel like my life is meaningful. So that's where I think we all can, find ways to get there.
Yeah. So in terms of like someone like me, if I wanted to learn the practice, where would I go?
It's actually very, very easy. So I actually learned the practice online. So the website that you mentioned, it's going to be listed. So I just want to show you a brochure. So this is basically the exercises, the 4 standing exercise, 1 sitting exercise, and the website has a free instruction videos that you just follow as I showed you in the beginning. It's very, very easy. The first exercise with the stretching movement, and that was actually the most complicated with all that movements, and other movements are a lot of it is really just like I said, it's a movement meditation. It's very slow. Oftentimes it's standing still or sit in meditation. So the website has a translation of the teaching into a couple dozen languages. Anybody can go learn. And on the website, you can also find information on local exercise groups. sometimes it's kind of helpful to go with a group, and group energy and practice really help support the individuals. So I do go to the groups that in Hawaii, beautiful Hawaii, and at the ocean side. We have the morning exercise Saturday and Sunday mornings from 7 to 9, and anybody can join right at the beach. So, but you don't need the beach. You just need to go to the website, and very easy to learn. Yeah.
Oh, great. And if we're fortunate enough, maybe you'll come back and go through some more of the exercises, maybe a full routine.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so, and it would take probably about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything that we're leaving out, or anything that you'd like to talk about before we begin to wrap it up?
I think two things. One is the Falun Gong practice. It's rooted in the ancient Chinese tradition, but it's not just for the Chinese. It's really universal. If anybody wants to check into the website, it's really about universal spiritual language that doesn't matter what your religion, your beliefs are. This is a mind and body practice that's really helpful, and it's spread from China, especially after Chinese government started to persecute Falun Gong in 1999. More people learn about it, know about it, and it has a wider spread. So it's both a tool for anybody if you are so inclined to check into it. And the other thing is about the persecution of Falun Gong in China.
Yeah.
Falun Gong right now is the largest group of people being persecuted so severely. Like I said, imprisonment, like including my aunt being imprisoned, sentenced to prison for 7 years, mistreated, tortured. My family, my mother's friends, beautiful, wonderful people, because of their practice of Falun Gong, were persecuted, killed.
And why was that? I hear that when the spiritual practice first began, it was supported by the Chinese government.
Yes, it was supported for a number of years by the government, because it's a really great for health, and great for kind of a society's morale. Because when people are all following truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, you'll have less conflicts, and you have less bad things happening in society, and more good deeds, so to speak. And people will pick up like tens of thousands of yuan money and just give it back to people. So and you see the declining morals in the society, and Falun Gong was helping in moving it up. But the Communist Party, we have to realize that the Communist Party in China is in control, and the communism is really about controlling people, mind and body. So in 1999, the government in China suddenly found, after they gave Falun Gong supports and awards, that there were, at the time, 60 million party members, Communist Party members, about 70 to 100 million people doing Falun Gong.
Yeah.
You see this number, and that's, what is 100 million people? That's about almost like a third of US population, and maybe 8% of Chinese population. So it's a large number of people who follow the Falun Gong practice, because it's a wonderful practice. It's helpful, both the mind and body, in terms of the diseases that a lot of people recover from, very severe illnesses from the practice. So the Chinese Communist Party really is fearful of any group that's big, outside of its control, and also believing something that the Communist Party that's different from the Communist Party. The party has been trying to eliminate traditional Chinese culture, and the Falun Gong came from that deep root of Chinese culture. So because of all of this insecurity, and that party just has no concern about people. So that's another message that I wanted to say before we close is, not only Falun Gong is the largest group of people being persecuted in China still right now, the torture methods also include forced organ harvesting, because the Falun Gong practitioners are healthy, and they don't smoke, they don't drink, and they practice a health practice, and their organs are known, seen as a source of income for the, for the Chinese Communist Party heads and their related hospitals. So
And
that's a major.
And just so we're clear about this, these organ harvesting, are they taken from people that are alive?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is a horrible thing that you can't even begin to imagine. Of course, the Chinese government would never admit it. So there were reports from 2006 that Falun Gong practitioners are incarcerated in secret places, and they were all basically target of organ removal. So they will be getting the body, health check and blood check and all of the checks that's needed, and those data will be in the database. And on the receiving end, the end of the hospital, if somebody come in to say I need an organ, then that person is promised to have an organ transplantation in 2 to 3 weeks. Wow. And nobody in the world can promise that. And China has no organ donation program. Just that fact alone. There are a lot of other facts that would point to the illegal practice of forced organ removal from mostly Falun Gong practitioners, but there are also some other people who are persecuted. So that's just something that just horrific. And people can get more understanding of that by checking into a website called faluninfo.net, faluninfo.net, FALUN, faluninfo, one word.net. And
okay. And I'll put a link, I'll put both links on the description of this video. And even with all of that going on, it shows the power of this practice, that people are still doing it because it has such an impact in people's lives.
Exactly. Yeah. People are tortured to say you have to recant, you have to criticize Falun Gong, and also give the police other people, fellow practitioners of Falun Gong. It's almost like a cultural revolution in the 1960s with the persecution of people all over again. The other thing that I just want to mention briefly, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we know the virus came from China and it's widespread. It really had a lot to do with the covering up by the Chinese government. And so therefore, a lot of people are saying, well, this is not a China virus. It's not a Chinese virus. It's really the CCP virus, the Chinese Communist Party virus. And because of the mishandling of the Chinese government, this virus is getting much bigger than what they need to be. And there are reports about if they were able to recognize the virus 3 weeks ahead, then that could save maybe 90% of the cases in the world. So we don't know really, but it's a habitual of the Chinese government to cover up things like this. So I think to really understand what's going on in China and the Chinese Communist Party is more important now than ever for the peace and health of the whole world. That's just one point I want to bring up.
Yeah, thank you. So let's see, kind of trying to find a way to end on a little bit of a positive note here. Let's see. Is there anything else? Did we cover everything?
Yeah, I think we did. And I think the positive note is really that you're doing this program. You're doing the meditation. And that's just wonderful. And let's hope more people in the world come to a path of health. That's a real health and well-being.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to end. I just want to do some closing announcements. And, okay, so this has been a 3 p.m. Eastern Time interview. This is the Facebook Guided Meditations and More page. My name is Ade Richardson, and we were having a discussion with Professor Hong Jiang. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, good. About the spiritual practice, Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa. And I will post some links to a website where you can learn more about the practice, and also a website where you can learn about the Chinese government persecution towards the practitioners and the practice. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below the video, and I'll try to get. Can you take any questions if I send them to you? If people have questions.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay. And you can also send me a direct message as well. So again, if you do enjoy these interviews and meditations, you can like the page. You'll see a like button on the page. Like and follow the Facebook page, and you'll get the notifications and updates and other things that I post on the site. So again, I want to thank you, Professor Jiang. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to learning more about the practice and actually incorporating it into my practice, because I'm always looking. I'm always looking for something that is body and mind, that combination. So I think that would be, and I felt attracted to the practice. I watched a few videos and was learning about it, and I just felt drawn to it. That's why I was really excited for this discussion. So
great. To look forward to talking more with you.
Yeah, thank you. So just so thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.